Hi students. In today's session, we are going to discuss about what are the client side and server side technologies, and what is Django, and what is the history of Django, what are the features, like all these we are going to see in today's session. So here Django is for 2 months. So within 2 months, I'll try to complete all the chapters in Django. And after completing the project, we are discussing about project also. Like it is for 1 week or 10 days. Like what all we discuss in the classes. Like we are going to implement in the project. So in project we are going to implement. And in the Django classes, what we are going to discuss is initially we'll discuss about the features, and after that we are going to discuss about like what are design patterns, what is MVC, what is MVT, all these we'll discuss. And after that we'll discuss about what is virtual environment, why we have to use virtual environment, like when it is used, where it is used in real time while deploying the website. Then we'll see Django installation, creating project, creating application. Then we'll discuss about files in the project, files in the application. And here we'll see installing Sublime IDE. IDE means integrated development environment. So it is used to work with Django. So many other IDEs are there. PyCharm is there, Atom is there, Komodo is there, and NetBeans is there, Eclipse is there. Many IDEs are there. But here I'm using Sublime IDE I'm using here. And here you can see working with multiple applications in the project, application level URLs. And then we are going to discuss about templates. Templates means working with HTML files. So when we work with HTML files, we are going to use HTML, JavaScript, CSS, jQuery, Bootstrap, DOM. All these we are going to discuss. So in my classes, we are going to discuss about designing and coding. So when we say designing web pages, designing of web pages, then we have to use HTML, HTML5, then JavaScript, CSS, jQuery, Bootstrap, DOM. All these we are going to use it. So for designing, we have to use. Okay. So Django is for writing the code. So instead of that, here we are using using designing also. So to learn Django, so prerequisite is so students should know at least core Python. With core Python, students should know about object-oriented programming, like what is a class, what is an object, all this. So if a student knows core and advanced Python, it is good. Okay, but like a basic thing they requires is at least core Python. They have to know, and students should know little bit of HTML. So no need to be master in HTML, JavaScript, CSS, jQuery, Bootstrap, DOM, all this. Okay. So if the student knows little bit of HTML, then in my classes I'll tell like how to work with HTML, why we are using JavaScript in Django, why we are using CSS, jQuery, Bootstrap, DOM. So we are going to discuss about all this with examples. With examples, we'll see. And here I'm going to provide my UI classes videos also. So those are not good in UI technologies like HTML, JavaScript, CSS, jQuery, Bootstrap, all this. I'm going to provide my UI classes videos I'm going to give. So here you can see UI classes videos are there. Like here 36 videos are there. Like I'm going to provide all these, I'm going to send all these videos, those who join for Django classes. So I'll give my videos and also I'll give the notes also for practice. So here UI classes nodes is there here. Here you can see HTML. So HTML nodes is there here. And next one is JavaScript nodes you can see. And here jQuery nodes. And next Bootstrap nodes is there. And CSS nodes also is there, including advanced selectors, and many examples will be there in this. So document object model nodes is also there. So those who will join for Django classes, I will be providing the videos. Like I will send UI classes videos and notes also I'll send to your mail IDs. Okay. So in the beginning classes, we are going to focus on designing. So when we focus on designing, we have to use all these, like examples using HTML, JavaScript, CSS, jQuery, Bootstrap, like DOM. All these we are going to use. And here in Django classes, you'll be learning about what are template tags, and template tag coding is also there, new language. So that is called Jinja 2 we are going to see. So using template tags and template tag coding, we can display data from the server, and we can send data to the server, and again sending data to the tables, accessing the data from the tables, like all these we are going to discuss. And here you can see, here we are going to discuss about models, then Django forms, model forms, advanced template features, advanced model features, then security and session management, and function-based views, class-based views, middleware services, object relational mapping, then Django REST API. REST API means representational state transfer. We'll see 3-4 examples. So we'll see what is the use of REST API, representational state transfer application program interface. Why we have to use a REST APIs in Django, like what is the use, like all these we are going to discuss. So now I'm not explaining anything related to REST API. After that, we'll see web hosting. So whatever website we develop, we are going to see how it is hosted in in internet. So we'll see deployment or publishing website in internet. We'll see. So for web hosting, we are going to use github.com. We are going to use. So here we are going to use github.com. We are going to use github.com. We are going to use here. Okay, and here while working with GitHub, so we can place our code in internet using GitHub, like project related code, any file, any code we can place. And then here we are going to use Python anywhere.com. We are going to use here. So many hosting sites are there. So here we are going to use Python anywhere.com for hosting Django websites, for publishing Django websites. We are going to use this. Okay, and here we are going to discuss about project also. Like using this project, you can work on any business application, any commercial application. So when you work on this project, you can work with online shopping site, then social networking sites, job portals, news portal, any website you can develop. So here you can see like what project we are going to discuss. Here you can see. So this is the project here. So contains all these files. So templates and static is there, and real time. Like all these are the files. This we are going to discuss, and many other projects are there. Online shopping sites are there, real estate related projects, machine learning websites. Other projects are also there. Okay, and here like every day I'm going to send you the notes to your mail IDs, device notes, And the notes from the basics to advanced concepts, the notes will be very clear so that all the students can practice. So here bootstrap example is there here. See this. So here it will show us like what files to create and where to write the code. And here I'm opening this file. So here it will show us where to write the code, in which file to write. So here we'll use more coding on this Python only. Python coding will be more here. So every like example will be very easy for practice because I'm giving step by step notes will be there, theory part and example also. And within 2 months, like what all examples I'll give, all are real-time examples only. So they are useful while developing the website. In the website development, they are used. So like whatever training I'm giving, like 2 months. Training I'm giving, like this is like a project oriented training only. Okay, so project after completing the course, then any student can directly work on projects. So they can work. Okay, again after completing the project oriented training, that is not necessary. It is not required. Okay, so students, those who want to learn Django, so prerequisite is that they have to know Python. So core and advanced Python, if they know, it is good. Otherwise, at least they have to know core Python to learn Django, because Django is a framework. It is completely developed in Python. So Django framework is for developing websites, and it is having Python files or modules. So Python modules or Python packages are there. Packages means collection of modules. So all these will be there. Okay. So any doubt, anything to ask? So students, if you have any doubts at the end of the session, I will give time. Like if you want to talk to me, you can talk, because in demos I will be explaining something, and based on that, if you have any doubts, you can ask. After the demos are over, when I start installation and all this, like students can interact with me. Whatever doubts they have, the students can talk to me. I will give technical support also, not just explaining the concepts, executing the code. In your system, if installation issues are there, in your system, if the project's examples are not working, you can talk to me, and you can send the screenshots to my mail ID. I will give you solution. Like all these will be there, interaction will be there. Okay. So here when we say about the latest version of Django here, so here I'm typing djangoproject.com, djangoproject.com, and here click on download. So it will show the latest version here. So the latest version is 3.2.9 is the latest version. 3.2.9 is the latest version here. And like without Python, yeah, I will give tasks. I will give assignments. I'll give. After completing one concept, I will give you assignments. Like a student should send to my mail ID. Okay. So in the beginning classes, it is not possible. I have to complete at least a few examples. Then I can give you assignments. So here to work with Python, here I'm typing python.org. So Python latest version is 3.10. So without Python, Django will not work. First in our systems, Python should be there. If Python is there, then we can install Django and we can use it. So in your system, if Python old version is there, with old version you can work. Okay, no need to use latest version. Like with the old version of Python, you can install latest version of Django. You can work with. But I'm using both latest versions only. I'm using like Python 3.10, Django 3.2.9. I'm using here. So here now I'm not going to explain about related to Django. That we'll see, like what is Django history, features. All these we are going to discuss. But here I want to explain some basics here. Like students may be knowing this, but in the future we should not have any problem. If the basics are very clear, then it will be easy for the students to continue. So here I will be explaining you the basics here. So when we are working with websites in internet, like in internet, we can see millions of websites. Like we can see crores of websites are there, and thousands of servers are connected to internet. Dedicated servers are connected to internet, and in that servers, like websites will be there, like 50 or 100 or 200, depends on the sites which are hosted or published. So while working with websites in internet, we can see client system and we can see server system. We'll say no, client server we used to say. Okay, so here while working with while accessing websites, client system has a browser. So browser is an application used to open websites. So whenever you want to open websites, then a browser is used. So it is an application. Okay, and here you can see in a server system, web server is there. So web server is a software or an application used to store and to run the websites. Okay, so in internet, thousands of servers are connected to internet. Like in every server system, we can see web server. So web server should be there. Okay, so for Java websites, Tomcat web server is used, and for Microsoft websites, IIS web server is used, Internet Information Services. And here for PHP websites, Apache web server is used. And for Django websites, Django development web server is there. So that we are going to use it. Okay. So when students are learning UI technologies, like if students are attending UI technologies like HTML, JavaScript, CSS, jQuery, Bootstrap, all these. Like while learning, no need of using web server. Okay, but when students are learning server-side technologies or backend technologies like Django. Okay, so when the students are learning any server-side technology, any backend technology like Django, so then while practicing, they have to use a web server while learning, while practicing also. Okay, but if the website is hosted or published in internet, then any website, so any website, it can have HTML pages, or it can have like a server side code or backend coding may be there. So any website which is hosted in internet, it runs with web server. Okay, so here when we say about websites here, so website is the collection of web pages. Okay, so in web pages we can see two types here: static pages and dynamic pages are there. Okay, so a website can have only static pages, and website can have only dynamic pages, and it can have both, like combination. So it can have, website can have static pages, dynamic pages can be there. Okay, so here when we say static pages, HTML pages or HTML files, like when we say page, it is called file. Okay, so when we say static pages, we are calling it as HTML files. HTML files means HTML pages. Pages are nothing but files. Okay, so they can be called as read-only files also. So when we are creating HTML page, or if HTML file is created, it can have HTML tags, JavaScript, CSS, jQuery, Bootstrap, document object model, all these will be there. Like all these, we can call them as front-end technologies or client-side technologies. So browser can understand all these. So browser can understand HTML, JavaScript, CSS, jQuery, Bootstrap, DOM, all these the browser can understand. Okay, and here we can see Angular also. In Angular, two frameworks are there: Angular framework and Node.js. Angular framework we can call it as we'll call it as front end here, and Node.js we can call it as back end here. Okay, back end. And here React.js also is there. Before that, in Angular, we are going to use a new language called TypeScript. TypeScript is used. It is a superscript of JavaScript, like Advanced. And it is similar to other modern programming languages like Java. So in TypeScript, we can see creating classes, creating interfaces, all we can see. Okay. And here React.js is also there. So React.js, it is also front end, and it is used for reusing UI components. Like whenever you are using the same code again and again, same tags again and again, so then to reuse the UI components, React.js is used. Okay, so here in HTML files, in HTML pages, like we can use Angular framework, React.js, and the which are listed there. HTML, all these we can use it. Okay, so HTML files when we should use is whenever you want to display the same information to all the users accessing the website. Okay, some pages will be common to all the users. Okay, so in that case, HTML pages we can use. Like HTML pages examples are home page or index page, like a first page in the website, then about us page, contact us page, then site map. All these will be the can be HTML pages. So about us means it will show information about the company or business or organization. So contact us means it will give the contact details. The page contains contact details like email, phone number, all these. Site map means it contains the complete information about the site. What all pages are there? All these we can see. Like it is not related to Google Maps. Sitemap means information about the site. Okay, and here HTML pages, HTML files or HTML pages are controlled or managed by the browser. Browser can manage HTML pages. Manage means it will allow us to move from one page to another page in the website. So navigation is possible. Okay, and here when we are working with this dynamic pages here, so dynamic pages are also there. So dynamic pages means they are controlled by the or managed by the web server in the server system. Web server in the server system. Okay, and in dynamic pages from user to user, the information will change. So it will not display the same information to all the users accessing the website. From user to user, information will change. So dynamic pages examples are like we can dynamic pages examples means login page, registration page, change password, password recovery. All these are dynamic pages only, because when we give user credentials in login page, they'll go to server. Server will validate and will give response. So when you are working with registration page, the details will go to server. Change password, password recovery, like all these will be there. And here when we are working with Gmail, so in Gmail we can see dynamic pages we can see. So in login page, when we give the credentials here, so here, so when I give the password here, so it will show the page here. So here you can see this particular page. This will call it as a single page application. Will say single page application. And here in the left side you can see quick launch bar. Okay, so quickly we can navigate to the required options. and here you can see hamburger icon, and then search option is there, and three tabs are there: primary, social, promotions, all these are there. So single page application means in one page we can do all our work instead of jumping from one page to another page, instead of moving from one page to another page. So we can do all our work in a single page. Okay, so here in Google Mail or in Gmail, we can see many accounts. We can see here like crores of accounts are there. Okay, so but when we connect it to Gmail with our account, it will show only our mails in inbox. Okay, so thousands of users may work with the site, but when we give the request or when we do login, it will show the emails in the inbox. Our data will get. So whatever emails we are seeing in inbox here, so this is dynamic data only. So this is from the server. So it is different from user to user. It is different. So whenever you want to work with dynamic pages like this, so whenever you work with the dynamic pages like this, then we can use server-side technologies or back-end technologies. We can use here. So here we can see server-side technologies or back-end technologies. Okay, like ASP is there and PHP is there. So ASP is very popular in 1990s, even PHP also. Okay, but other technologies are there, but we can see many websites in ASP, many websites in PHP. Still we are using in internet. And JSP and servlets is related to Java. ASP.NET, ASP.NET MEC is related to Microsoft, and Django is Python based. It is related to Python. So here in Python, we have many frameworks. Not only Django, many frameworks are there. Like a Flask is there, Bottle, Pyramid, then Web2Py, Pylons, TurboGuess. Like many are there. Okay. So here in our classes, we'll see what is the difference between Django and Flask. Like in like some companies, Flask is also used. So we'll see what is the difference between Django framework and Flask framework. All these we are going to see. And here you can see Ruby on Rails is there, Node.js is there. Like all these are existing here. Node.js is there. So all these are the backend technologies or server side technologies. Like when many backend technologies are there, students may have doubt like why we should learn Django. So what is the use of it? Like how it is different from other backend or server side technologies? Like students may have all these doubts. Okay, so but here when we say Django, it is completely different from other backend technologies, other server-side technologies. Even with Java, it is completely different with Java, JSP servlets, and .NET, ASP.NET, ASP.NET MEC. Like when we see the features, then you will feel like, yeah, we have to learn. Like that, you'll feel because here we have a completely top different features are available. So in Django, website development is easy. It is easy, and website development is also fast because the similar features are existing here. Okay, so here when we are working with Django, so to learn Django, Python is required. It is a prerequisite, and the student should know little bit of HTML. Okay, because in my classes, as I said before, we are going to focus on designing and coding. So when students learn back-end technologies, server-side technologies, they'll focus only on coding part. But in my classes, we are going to focus on designing and coding. So we'll see how to design HTML pages, then how to use JavaScript, CSS, jQuery, Bootstrap, DOM. All these we are going to use. We'll see many examples also. Okay, and those are not strong in UI technologies or front-end technologies. My UI classes videos are there. Nearly 36, 37 videos are there. I will send the UI classes videos and notes also. Like in MS Word, we can see the clear notes with examples it will be. So by seeing the notes, students can like they can update HTML, HTML5 examples are there. and CSS, Bootstrap, all these you can learn. Like while Django classes are going on, so parallelly when you have time, you can focus on that. Okay, and here, like when we are working with static and dynamic pages, here we can see the other differences also. Here I've told some differences. So HTML files or static pages are controlled by the browser. So dynamic pages are controlled by the web server in the server system. So here we will see the other differences also we'll see now. So when we are working with websites in internet, so websites in internet works with two protocols like HTTP and HTTPS. So here I'm typing this URL here, website address. Here you can see durgasoft.com means it is running with HTTP protocol, and here you can see not secure, it is giving here not secure. Okay, and if I use Gmail, so here it is showing HTTPS. Here you can see log symbol is there. Like the information is safe or information is secured. Okay. So here when you are working with HTTP protocol, if the website is running with HTTP protocol, so for security we have to write the code, we have to write the programs. Then we are going to implement. Okay. So here we can we'll write code for a lot of things like SQL injection attack is there, and then we'll write code for like cross-site scripting, cross-site hijacking is there, and here we'll see how to stop automated programs. Many things are there. Okay, so here when we use HTTP protocol, then we have to write code for security, securing the data. So in HTTPS, the data is secured. Like that feature, the data can be sent safely in a network. In HTTP also it is there, but we have to write code for that. Explicitly we have to write the programs. So here HTTP protocol is like it is 40 years old. Since 40 years we are using HTTP protocol in network. Okay, so websites means we have to use HTTP or HTTPS we have to use. Like other protocols are also there. So we can see FTP, file transfer protocol, TCP, transmission control protocol, UDP, user datagram protocol, many are there. Okay, so here when we say HTTP or HTTPS, they are called as stateless protocols. Stateless. Stateless protocols means they cannot remember the values given in the pages in the website. They cannot remember the website information, and they cannot remember the pages opened in the website, like URLs of the pages, addresses of the pages, it cannot store. Okay, so we can say that HTTP or HTTPS cannot maintain history like previous data or information. Okay, so HTTP or HTTPS we can will call them as communication protocols. They cannot remember information, they cannot maintain the data, they cannot remember the pages open in the sites. Okay, URLs they cannot maintain. But why we are using is they are communication protocols used to transfer the data in network from client to server, server to client, like browser to web server to browser. So like that. Okay. So here, like when you are working with pages in the website, once if the data is submitted to the server in login page or else in registration page, any page, so once if the data is submitted, once if the page is submitted to the server, then data is also submitted. So once if the values are submitted to the server, then they are not in the browser. The values are cleared. Values are deleted. So once if they are submitted, we cannot see the values in the browser. Okay, because they are cleared. But if you want to maintain the web pages values or website information or anything, even after the page is submitted to the server, even after the page is submitted to the server, so here different mechanisms are there. So we can maintain the data in HTML pages, static pages, and we can maintain the data using dynamic pages also. Okay, so we can maintain the data using static pages. Like in HTML5, we are having web storage. Using web storage, we can maintain the data in a browser or else in client system. Yeah, in a JavaScript, we can see like cookies are there. So using cookies, we can store or maintain the data in browser or else in the client system. So when we are working with static pages or HTML pages, we can maintain the data. We can store data in browser or else in the client system. So, but that information is not safe. Okay, it is not secured, and we can store only limited data, and accessing the data is also slow. But when we are working with the dynamic pages, so when we are working with backend technologies or server-side technologies, so we can maintain web pages values or website information in the server. In server, we can store the data, not in browser, not in client system. So if the information is in server, then it is secured. Like when we are working with confidential data or sensitive data, like passwords, account number, debit card number, credit card number, PIN number, all these are sensitive data. All this is confidential data. Okay, so then when we save that information in the server, so that we can reuse it or we can use across pages in the website, across multiple requests, then we can store it in the server. So if the data is in the server, okay, if the data is in server, then we can secure the data from hackers, middleman attacks, data tampering, all these we can avoid. Okay, and we can store large amount of data, and accessing the data is also fast. Okay, so this is about information what I've told. And here, when we are working with dynamic pages, or when we are working with backend or server side technologies, when we write a backend coding, then using backend code or server side code, we can integrate the pages with the database, like with SQLite or with MySQL, with SQL Server, with Oracle database. All these we can integrate here. So integration can be done. Okay, and here like we can connect to any data, we can integrate web page with any database, sending the data to database server, accessing the data from the database server. So whenever you want to store any data permanently, any information permanently, then it is possible with dynamic pages. So using dynamic pages, we can integrate with any database. It depends on the requirement, depends upon the usage. Like we can use any database can be used. Okay, so in Django, here we'll focus on creating static pages, and we'll focus on creating dynamic pages. As I said, we'll work with design and we'll work with coding. Okay, so in while working with Django, when we are working with HTML, when we are working with static pages and dynamic pages, okay, then file extension is .html. Even for dynamic pages in Django, even for dynamic pages, file extension is .html only. But when you are working with other backend technologies or other server-side technologies, dynamic pages file extension is different. Like we can say .asp, .aspx, .php, .jsp, like this it will be. So dynamic pages extension, file extension is different. So then there we can easily identify what is a static page and what is dynamic page. We can identify. But in Django, static page file extension is HTML, dynamic page file extension also HTML only. But how can we identify is if the HTML file contains HTML, JavaScript, CSS, jQuery, Bootstrap, okay, DOM, then Angular framework, React JS, all these, like front end, all these, then it is a static page only. So along with all these, if the HTML file contains template tags, or if the HTML file contains template tag coding, template tag code means Jinja 2. It is a new language we are using in HTML. In HTML files, we are going to use this. In HTML files, we are going to use this. Okay, so like template tags or template tag code means it is used to show the data from the server or sending data to server, accessing the data from data, sending it to tables. All these we can do it. Okay, so here from the basics to the advanced examples, we are going to use the template tags, template tag coding. Whenever we say dynamic page, the HTML file should contain template tags, template tag code should be there. It is very, very easy. Working with the template tags, working with template tag coding is very, very easy. So because we'll see many examples also, so you can easily understand, you can easily identify, like you can say like this is static page and this is dynamic page, like that you can identify. Okay, so here when students are learning Django, then the whatever system you are using, your laptop or your desktop, it works as all-in-one. Like your laptop, your system works as like development system, because you are going to develop the websites using Python and Django, and you will be using web server. So while practicing, while learning Django, you have to use web server. Without web server, you cannot see websites in browser. And your laptop will works as a production server, because you are going to run the websites. Okay, and it works as client also. So whatever systems we are using, while learning, while practicing Django, while developing websites in Django, so your system works as 3-in-1, like development server, production server, and a client. Okay, development server means we are developing the sites, and we are going to run also with the use of web server. We are going to run, and we are going to open the websites in the browser. Okay, so our laptop will works as all-in-one. We are going to do everything in a single system. And like when the website goes to production, when we are going to deploy the website, host the website, then in that case we can work with the different systems here. So in IT companies, whatever servers are there, they are development servers. Okay, so whatever code you write, it is stored in the server. So from there, you are going to deploy in internet servers, production server. So production server is different, which is under production, which is in use. So once if the website is hosted or published in production server, then clients, users can access the website. So in real time, like after the website is hosted or published, then we can say development server means in companies it will be. Production server means like which is connected to internet, where the hosting or publishing of sites is done, and users can access through browser. All this is done. Okay, students. So these are the basics. Today I didn't tell about what is a Django, history, features, all these we didn't discuss. So tomorrow we are going to discuss about Django history, like top 5 features. Many other important features are there. Like we'll see design pattern, MVT architecture. All these we are going to discuss in tomorrow's session. And those who want the course contents, I can give you the course contents. Like today I've told only the headings, topics, but like course contents, a document is there. Like if students want to know what all we are going to discuss within 2 months, I can send to your mail IDs. Otherwise, online team will provide the course contents, and you can talk to them regarding the fees details. Like yeah, I can send. If you want the course contents, you can type your mail ID in chat option. If you want course contents, I'll send. Type your mail ID in chat option. I'll send. And regarding fees, you can talk to online team. And like once if you join for the course, every day I will send you the recorded session with notes. I will send, and also I will after 3-4 classes, I will send you UI classes videos. UI classes videos I'll send, and notes also I'll send. Okay. So any doubts, anything to ask? Yeah, design. See, in Django, in every example, we have to use design patterns only. MVT design pattern we have to use. Without design patterns, we cannot develop websites in Django. Like in Java, in .NET, in PHP, in Ruby, MVC architecture is used. Without MVT architecture, here we cannot develop websites. It is not possible. I'll tell what is the use of design patterns, what is MVT, how it will works. Like without design patterns, if websites are developed, what are the drawbacks? All we are going to discuss. Okay, students. So I'm signing off. So tomorrow we'll continue with other basics. Okay. See, coding. How can I start? Like first we have to focus on designing now. Designing also contains coding only. Okay. So we have to go step by step. Directly coding means how it is possible. First, if pages are there, then only we can do coding, no? Without any web page, without any design, how can we do coding? Where for what we'll do coding? No use, no. First, if pages are there with controls, design should be there, no? If controls are there, label, text boxes, buttons. If page is there, then we'll write coding, then we'll send data. So you should not be in a hurry. You have to learn all the chapters slowly, one by one. Then only here coding also will be more only. In core and advanced Python, you will see less Python coding. But in Django, you will see more Python coding will be there. Okay.